Hello, and welcome to the Green Team of the Legendarium, the weird little spin off podcast where patrons of the Legendarium get together and talk about the books and topics the main crew haven't gotten around to yet. I'm Seeker, and this is Jingles 90.
Hello.
Hello. So, what are we doing today?
We are talking about Oath of Swords by David Weber. My second attempt at a Paladin series. The first one was very successful. We're not talking about trial and error here. We're just going through the line.
The first book in the War God or Hradani, depending on who's naming the series.
Is there a difference?
It was originally called the War God series, and then it was switched to the Hardani series.
And was that a Bane change?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
All right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I always get it confused because the War God's Own is the second or third book, and it was called the War God series, so I always assume War God's Own is the first book, and it's not. Oath of Swords is. So, yeah.
Yeah, the titles don't really run together in any. This feels like a series back when people didn't try to pattern their titles at all. Just like kind of throw
and you can tell by the
relevant.
length. This is one of Weber's early books.
Yeah.
His later books are doorstoppers.
This one's no slouch. 400 pages ain't bad.
No, but I think let me look it up real quick. Sword of the South is 784 pages.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
That's the fourth one, that he wrote well after he was established as a long book. The first three are about this length.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what's your impression of the book? I've read it several times, and it's one of my favorites. So,
nice. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I was completely wowed by it.
Okay.
Part of that being, I don't know. It's very. This probably isn't the right word, but it's very meandering. It feels very classic fantasy in that you just kind of start walking on a road and you have things kind of happen progressively that don't necessarily seem to tie together. That might be intentional. I don't know. But where you have something like Paxenarian where, everything seems to have a little bit of gravitas and a little bit of purpose. This, I didn't feel that as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's very much. Yeah. Our character is very meandering. There's no McGunn.
Yeah.
If anything, he's running from something, not chasing anything.
Yeah, he's running from something, and even in that, it's kind of weird because that thing that he's running from plays such a minor role in this book, I feel like.
Well, he's running from two things, technically, but we'll cover that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is meandering. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but you're right. There's no clear driving. There's a minor mystery, and I personally love David's humor.
Okay.
So some people don't find it particularly funny, but I think he's hilarious.
Yeah. I feel like I missed some of the humor. When I did catch a joke, I enjoyed it. But I was looking at reviews of this later, and I was seeing comparisons to Terry Pratchett and things, and I was just like, no. I don't think it was that witty. I don't know.
No. Yeah. David Weber is not Pratchett. No, you can't even compare.
Yeah. So yeah, part of me was like, God, I feel like I'm missing something here just because people are talking about how this book is so funny, and I giggled at some scenes, but I didn't really find it to be dominantly humorous, right?
Well, Pratchett also plays on words all the time. He had 5 different styles of humor that he would throw into his books. David has a couple. And, some of it's witty wordplay and banter, and some of it's situational. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And I think the duo of Basil and... Do you say Basil or Basil?
Bazel.
Bazel?
At least
Okay.
that's how the audiobook says it.
Okay,
Bazel
Bazel.
Bonnickson.
Yeah. Why am I forgetting his name? The Bard.
The Bard. I don't remember
Brandark.
his name.
Brandark, there we go.
Brandark, yes.
It's like,
Brandark.
I really do like the relationship between Basil and Brandark. I think
Yes.
that's a very nice touch. And even like the way that they join up at the beginning of the book is a lot of fun. So,
and the way when Brandark's needling him, he's like, "Be careful, little man. You might lose something important."
yeah.
Like, it's so like not quite older brothery, but
Yeah.
definitely, two guy friends who know each other real well and are comfortable, and one of them is just a whole lot stronger than the other one.
Yep. It's just it's a very good bond. And they differentiate enough to make it interesting and fun. And that's a personal way I like to be humorous with friends, is like everyone should be able to give a little bit of a ribbing to one another.
Yeah.
And these two got that in spades. So I really enjoyed that.
And it really lightens up the book and helps it move along enjoyable through the slower, periods, because there's not a ton of interaction with many people throughout most of this book. It's a lot of them walking through the woods.
Yeah, it's exactly what the cover is. It's them sitting by fires and drinking and joking and telling stories.
Yeah, pretty much. As someone who has read the rest of the trilogy, this is intentional. He is world building.
Okay.
This book is a lot of world building.
It feels like it.
You get introduced to all the major races. You get introduced to the religion and the gods. You get introduced to basic politics and hostilities and why, and the causes of some of the racial tensions that are going on.
Right.
And if you've got anything else before spoilers, because I'm about to hit spoilers.
Let's do it.
All right.
So, summary.
All
right. Basil Bannickson, horse stealer, Hradani Prince of Hergrim, is a ward of a warring clan, and he's far more moral. When he hears the torture of a woman at the hands of a prince of the rival clan, he can't help but intervene. With the help of a servant, he rescues the woman, and the three successfully escape. Basil separates from the women, sending them to his father, and heads in a separate direction to leave the prince Harnack to chase him. His friend Brandarkson, a fellow Hradani who dreams of being a bard, finds Basil and joins him. Together, the duo travel to other countries, encounter new friends, and luckily avoid Harnack's forces. These adventures draw the attention of the war god Tomanak. He's impressed by Basil and wants him to be his paladin. Basil has some deep concerns about submitting himself to the wills of a god, but he eventually does so, saves the magical princess Zaranatha, fighting a creature sent by the demon god Sharna, and fighting Harnack in a one-on-one battle to the death. Basil and Brandark end their journey, still on the run, though with a huge ally in Zaranatha and joining a ship of halflings.
Yeah, I forgot about that. The halflings and the dwarves and
the
only race that you never hear. Well, you never learn much more about the elves than you do in this book.
Yeah.
And even
a Hradani is kind of our version of an orc, but in the Tolkien sense of like they are corrupted elves, quote unquote corrupted elves, right?
Well, to throw in a Wheel of Time reference, they're more like corrupted tinkers, but they're a separate species. They're not human.
Okay.
You find out in the later books that the Hradani were basically pacifists.
Got it.
And which is what made what was done to them so horrendous. But yes, in the lore of the world at the time this book takes place, they are basically treated like Tolkien orcs. They're vicious, savage. They can fly into a rage at any moment. They'll look at you. They'll kill you as soon as look at you. Along with many human prejudices that are basically attributed to any kind of traveling, unfamiliar Romani style prejudice.
Got it. Yeah.
Those thieving tinkers. you know. So, so the first thing, and this is one of the things I love about this book, is the way the author treats the prejudice, both the way the humans act towards them and the way they respond to the humans. It just seems very real to me.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting seeing, like, especially as he moves further into human territories, this idea of prejudices being held against them for just existing in the space are far more prominent, whereas people closer to the borders don't see that as often necessarily. Although that border is to a Hradani land, so that might be the difference there. But
yeah, the border with Hradani land, it's like, hey, sorry, I know we do business sometimes, but your tribe just burned our city 50 years ago, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But as they move into the Axemen or Spearmen lands, it's like, filthy Hradani, what the hell are you even doing alive?
Yeah, how do you even exist in this area? Which is pretty ugly to see. I mean, even with like what was it? The one village where they go in and don't cause any problems, but the guy that sees them come in decides to start a problem. And was it the sheriff stops the fight that's about to happen, does not blame Basil and Brandark, but also tells them to leave.
Yes,
because they're going to cause
you
too much
attract
trouble.
Problems, whether you want to cause it or not. Yeah,
Which
people will want to beat up
messed
on
up.
you, so please leave.
Yeah, which is beat up on you. They're going to try and they're going to fail miserably, and I know you're going to kill them. So, yeah, just so messed up. Then yeah, just frustrating, which still makes it, all the better when they do find people that are willing to trust them.
Yeah,
even if
especially
it's
like
just
the
for their
bartender.
utility. Yeah,
Yeah,
the bartender and is it the dwarf that hires them on as merchant runners? That's
merchant guards. Yeah.
Yep.
And how I love how bleh. All I can think of is Brandark. I'm thinking of the other guy, Bazel. I love how Bazel is. So when the caravan gets attacked by the bandits, he's so worried that they're going to see me for the vicious, out of control Hradani that I am, and everybody's just like patting him on the back and thanking him for saving their lives.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting phenomenon because it's a real twist on the classic berserker role. Berserkers are often respected, but they don't usually have this kind of conflict of oh my god, I killed all my friends.
Right. And the
even
rage presents an interesting part of that. Yeah.
You throw in like a mild Stormlight spoiler here, but the thrill in Stormlight, they don't have a guilt association with submitting to the thrill or what they do while under it. Whereas the Hradani definitely do. It's made very clear from the beginning that the Hradani fear the rage and what it causes them to do.
Yeah.
Well,
I think specifically for them, it becomes an interesting conflict because depending on who the Hradani is, they see it as a curse because it's a magical thing. Which, right? Am I reading that correctly?
It is magical, yes.
Yeah, and they definitely don't like magic because they believe that it's something that did inflict tremendous amounts of harm on their people.
Right.
So being stuck with something that you know was the catalyst for the way you are, and also something that's not necessarily in your control is a very
And the cause of your outcast status.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're talking, some kind of metaphor allegory for original sin here in some capacity.
I'd never thought of it that way, but that would make sense.
Yeah.
Weber steers clear of overt religious references, but he does subtly introduce, well, it's part of who he is. So he can't help but subtly introduce concepts.
Right.
So that I'd never thought of it that way, but you're right, that it could be considered a parallel for original sin.
I don't know. I think since you mentioned he was Christian, I realized there's a lot of things that are lining up. Not that they have to. We're talking about a book where a guy actively rejects a god and then submits to him.
Oh yes,
So,
which is what I love. I love
Yeah.
his rejection, because they fear and hate the gods because he views that gods abandoned them. The evil gods hurt them, and the good gods did nothing to help.
Yeah.
And he's the god throughout most of the book. The god is trying to talk to him in dreams, and he's so blocking it out that he's just having nightmares and can't remember what they're about. And then I love when the first messenger shows up in those fancy robes and ends up taking a swim.
Yeah, the academic on the boat.
Uh-huh.
Good luck.
It's just anyone who's been involved with either religious people or it's like a stereotype of the hoity-toity rich professor.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my god.
The they exist. I work in academia.
I'm
I see them
sure.
all the
I'm
time.
sure.
The people that very much believe they are of a higher caliber because they are academics, but don't seem to have us. But they can't even, send their own mail without a ton of questions. So yeah, I get it. There's a little bit of Schadenfreude watching a guy fall into being kicked into a boat for me.
And nobody gets hurt. He just goes for another swim.
Yeah.
And everybody cheers when he gets back to shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think of the setup of the Pantheon? And how much detail he went in to set up, who's related to who and how and what powers everybody has and all that.
It's great. I did read the list of the gods at the back, and around the fourth one where it says it's this brother's uncle or whatever, whatever nonsense organization of the family it is in. I liked it. I need an actual visual because I can't keep track of who's who and who's the daughter of whom.
Not important.
Yeah, it's not important, but it was. I do like how they kind of. What is Tomanak had a bunch of interesting stuff because he's the god. He's the war god, but he was also
Tomanak. He's the god of war and justice and judgment, or something like that.
There was maybe it wasn't him. There was one thing that he was the god of that didn't quite fit with the rest, but until you really got to think about it, and it was, oh yeah, that actually does make sense why he would be there. But
yeah, I love the alignment. It reminded me. I mean, obviously the family relations, that's very classical Greek. How everybody's related and whatever. But the alignments reminded me a lot of the Dragonlance.
Yeah.
Except there's no neutral gods.
Right.
Yeah,
they all fall to one side or the other.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at some pretty interesting absolutes here. Which, for a war god, I don't know if I'd believe he's just the good guy. I guess maybe for justice and judgment that works, but not
Well,
necessarily.
I mean, war, in my opinion, war is basically a tool. To quote somebody, war is diplomacy by other means. And the way I look at it is there's always going to be some human who's going to try to achieve his ends by any means possible. And if you're unprepared, you're not going to survive.
Right, but then wouldn't that then mean that we need to look at war as a form of neutrality as far as gods are talking? Because we're talking about a guy who is like the hero
It
god.
might might if war were a neutral thing, but don't forget, in the biblical sense, he's very much Michael the Archangel because
That's fair. Because he cast down
he cast down the rebellious one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So,
That's another parallel.
it's I'm seeing more Christian imagery as we're talking. I
As we're
had never
talking.
really paid attention to it before.
It's there. It's out there.
Oh yeah, it's definitely there.
Even looking at the aspects of like how they negotiate. I kept saying submit earlier. That's not really what happens. Basil
never submits.
definitely chooses. Yeah, he never. Yeah. He absolutely chooses.
He refuses even to kneel.
Yeah,
or lower his gaze.
Yeah.
You have just mighty convenient way of praying.
Yes. And he doesn't do things the way Tomanak always wants. I found the conversation about them. What was the exact situation?
With the villagers?
Where he told them to lie to protect themselves.
But you told them to lie. You even coached them in the lie. You can't be lying for your own benefit. Like, well, will you please be telling me how this would benefit me?
Yeah.
You can tell I listened to it.
Yeah. You got some voices for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the I didn't lie for the good of myself. I lied for the good of them because this is what they needed. This is their justice, is to lie a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, just be sure you aren't telling lies that do benefit you, okay? Okay.
So, yeah. Bazel, a little bit of a trickster in himself, a little more cunning than just a brute.
Yeah, he's definitely a philosophy major.
Absolutely.
Way.
I did like talking about other gods. I did like their interaction with the muse goddess as well.
Yes, the goddess of bards.
Yeah. Especially with Brandark. That was an interesting conversation.
I love that he didn't make Brandark have a good singing voice.
Yeah.
That was the thing. So often, they just make their characters good at whatever they want to do. And, he doesn't. He wants to sing. He's a favorite of the bard goddess, but his voice is crap.
Yeah. And she acknowledges that. Is like, you're never going to be that great a bard. Just telling you flat out, you're never going to get there. But I respect it. And I respect
and even his composition is doggerel, and he knows it.
Yeah.
But he composes Bazel Bloodyhand.
The epic.
Yes.
I did love that the book ended on that. That was great.
Yeah, as they're being picked up. I love when he shows up on the halfling boat.
Just completely naked.
A giant Hradani on a halfling boat, completely naked.
Well, that's what this boat must have been so small because he like fills up half of it.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
I get the guy's like 7 feet tall, but dang.
Another thing I really like about Weber's writing in general is in this book it's manifested that healings do not reverse the damage. You lose a finger, you've lost the finger. You get a stab wound, you get a scar. There's no reversal of the damage. There's just rapid healing.
Right. Yeah,
And
it's not a reward to be healed by your god. Or it's a
no, it just keeps you alive.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Um,
that's very much a Weber philosophy that you hopefully will one day learn. You'll find in all of his books
mhm,
is his main characters never injuries and damage mean something, whether
sure.
it's physical, psychological, or both. You can't just go in the back to tank and come out as good as new.
Yeah. Except for maybe your fake arm is now a robotic arm.
Yes, that
Spoilers.
happens.
Yeah.
That absolutely happens.
Yeah. Um,
Not in this series, though.
no. Yeah. So
But
yeah. What else do you like? Get into the deep philosophy with me. What do you like most about this book? Because I'm ready to talk it up.
the thing I like most is, and I, I think it's in this book. So correct me if I'm wrong, please. Where he talks about worlds and choices and how free will works in a world with gods that can see future possibilities.
Hmm. Don't recall the future possibilities part, but that does sound similar to the wizards.
Okay, that's in
Yeah.
a future book then. But he talks about in this book. It's very much the one thing I do remember here is that you know the good gods could stop the bad gods, but they couldn't stop the evil wizards. It's like
Right.
they did what they did. We could not interfere. We could not stop them. And we came to help you as soon as conditions allowed.
Right.
But we were prevented by, the laws of nature basically from interfering sooner because, things just were at a stage where we couldn't.
Yeah. So I guess that's maybe I need a, a different reading of this, but I did find it interesting that Tomanak does hard line on no interference,
Mhm.
no direct interference. Isn't that what Sharna's doing though? This entire book.
Well, he does say that the evil gods interfere more blatantly because they don't
Yeah,
mind harming their servants.
that's true. Which Sharna absolutely does.
Yes.
So
And Tomanek did even told Bazel that the only reason he can even appear to him or talk to him directly is because he has an extremely strong mind. He
mhm,
says even your average wizard would have his mind shattered by prolonged conversation.
right.
And so it's which is why they usually prefer to communicate through dreams and stuff.
Sure.
But
Makes sense.
yeah, the evil gods definitely can interfere more directly, but only because they don't care what happens to their vessels, which you definitely see when they make that possessed sword.
Yeah.
I
Run it
mean,
through.
it consumes the guy.
Yeah. And he kills most of his own guys, doesn't he? I was trying.
No,
um,
the purple lords do.
yes, that's right. Uh,
Yeah, they kind of walk into the ambush that the pack that's hunting Bazel for helping the villagers.
yep.
Although they don't know he helps the villagers, but yeah.
But yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's what. So talking about like the more racial aspects of this book, that was um an interesting development that I am very curious about all the luck in this book because I don't think that it's all Tomanak interfering. It's definitely something else. But just the idea that the the guards come across a large herd of Harnax people, and then that's the fight that we get.
Right.
Uh, Instead of Bazel and Brandark having to worry about.
instead of coming across Bazel.
Yeah. And how it works is pretty much they play into their own prejudices and don't pay attention to their
Mhm.
tracking, which
Reminded me a lot of, classic prejudice, whether we're talking the border with Scotland or we're talking you know, the Native American fights and General Custer. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
when you believe your own prejudices, you're gonna get hurt.
yeah, you underestimated people and now you're paying the price for it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Be
Yeah, I mean, and
um
he's the leader of the band is so dismissive. He doesn't even, care that it's different tribe or whatever. He's like, they're Hardani, so who cares?
yeah, so who
You know?
cares? They're gonna solve our problem for us. If killing them's gonna solve our problem for us, we'll have someone's head,
Right.
right? Which eesh. But yeah,
Unfortunately,
the
there are
luck.
people like that.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. Alas. But that scene was really cool. The fight scene at the end.
Oh
I
yeah.
really enjoyed that. And I really liked the demon fight. That was
Mhm.
also very cool. That demon was very cool. I had
He's
that
like,
vision.
and if this is one of the creatures that are so weak, they can't see them. I hate them.
Right through the scorpion tail.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the luck is interesting. I'm curious as to what we have like 14 gods and only 3 of them played games in this one. So I'm expecting a little bit more.
More of the gods do get introduced, but it is very much what the people do.
Yeah.
And we do see more of Winsett of Rune.
Yeah, okay. I was trying to find a way to segue to that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2,000-year-old wizard
Yeah, who
with glowing eyes.
if you were to actually see what he sees, your mind would explode. And somehow
Mhm.
Harnack, or not Harnack, Basil has not suffered that problem.
Bazel is just he's an extraordinary character with extraordinary will, but also
Yeah.
refuses to believe that he himself is extraordinary.
Right.
He's one of these heroes who insists that anyone else would have done the same.
Yeah. He
You
very
know.
much plays into the reluctant hero style of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, he only has arguments with gods for half the book.
The rest of the
You
time
don't get
he's
much more
rescuing
reluctant.
someone somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He makes Bilbo look positively eager.
Yes. Oh.
But yeah.
Yeah. Once It was an interesting addition. I have my suspicions about Once It. I don't think he's as good as he claims. I'm just gonna. What did I say to you when I first met him? Dude seems like he's exactly what he's portrayed to be, or he's going to be a huge problem. Yeah, it was incredibly neutral. It seems too good for him to just show up. But I guess he also helps with the rescue of Zarnatha. So I'm probably just overthinking it.
The only thing I will say about Winsett is he very much plays a Gandalf type role.
Sure.
I'm not referring necessarily to Gandalf's um, alignment or his motivations, but it's very much kind of the along the medals on the periphery.
Yeah.
Never plays a central role.
Sure.
First off, in a world with the magic system this elastic, you really don't want the atomic bomb to win all your battles for you.
Yeah. Right.
So, but yeah, he is quite the character, and we do see him again. I believe we see him in each of the books at least once.
Okay.
So,
Rescuing people.
uh, well, as I said, very much Gandalf style.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's rescuing, sometimes he's counseling, sometimes he's always manipulating.
Yeah. He's always doing something creative. Okay.
Yeah. He's never there for one purpose. He's always got layers, going
Got
on.
it.
So, and some of them you find out in that book, some of them you find out in the next book, you know. So
Okay.
it's kind of like, the reason Gandalf, spoilers for a 80-year-old book or however old the Lord of the Rings is, but when Gandalf did the Hobbit and the dwarves took back the Lonely Mountain, that was in preparation to cut off a line of advance of orcs attacking Gondor.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how much you know your Tolkien lore, but during the Battle of Gondor, the Lonely Mountain was fighting its own army of dwarves that were trying to get to Gondor, and they were blocking the path.
That's cool. I didn't
So,
realize that.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I went through a nerdy Tolkien phase.
I think I'm still going through it. I don't retain very much every time I start reading something. I need to.
I feel like Craig would go, nice, but did you notice this? And I'd go, no.
Nope. Not at all.
I read the Silmarillion like 3 times, but that was 15 years ago.
Yeah. I did the most recent reread with while Craig and Ryan were doing it.
I've got the audiobook read by Christopher Lee.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited to see more out of Winsett, though. Let's try to what do I have to look forward to in the next 3 books? Is it just Basil? Just vaguely, is it just Basil's journeys across the world doing Dominic's work, or
No, he's not a wandering paladin.
okay?
He lots of politics involving Hradani. Lots of politics involving Hradani and the Sathoi Windrunners.
Okay.
Basically the arch enemies of the horse stealer Hradani.
I got it. Okay.
Stuff involving I think there's 2 books that involve 2 books involve the Windrunners, and then the 4th book does a time jump. And it's just a completely different story. It's the start of a new trilogy. Oh yes, rating before I read the thing. What would you rate this?
Ooh. I think I'd give it 3.5 out of 5 stars.
3.5 out of 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I already said it's one of my favorites, so I just go in for 5.
5 out of 5. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think
I don't know if it's
good.
because of its nostalgia because of when I first discovered it, or I just love this style of writing. I don't know which, but it's a 5 for me.
It can be a little column A, a little column B. Doesn't have to be separate, right?
No.
I was trying to think trying to remember what I put on Goodreads. I think I angled it. I can't do half stars on Goodreads. So
No, you can't.
That doesn't help. So I think I gave it 3, but I would definitely raise it up a little bit past that. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5.
On Amazon, it's got 1,600 reviews and a 4.6.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, on Goodreads, it's a 4.2.
Yeah. Most of the reviews I read were very, very positive.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not entirely sure what didn't.
Well, you meant it just didn't seem to be going anywhere for you.
Yeah.
And I think it's I think when we read the rest of the trilogy, because I believe, I have no evidence of this, but I believe it was written as a trilogy.
Okay.
Kind of like the Lord of the Rings trilogy was originally 1 book.
Sure.
It wouldn't surprise me if this was originally, if not 1 book, he had thoroughly outlined the entire trilogy before he sat down to write this one.
Okay.
So this book is basically prologue for the next 2 in a very real way. You get all your world building foundations set up here.
Right. And then you go in big later.
Yeah, and I love the way he scatters the world building, so you don't have like a massive info dump.
Right. Everything was very everything was developed really well, but then there was also just that weird like repetitive nature of things. Like,
Yes, let's build another campfire.
yeah, let's build another campfire. Let's use the exact same scenario to get Zaranatha back to her kingdom that I
Zarantha.
used to get Zarantha. Yeah, to get it's the exact same scenario that we used to get the original two women out of.
Oh, you're right. I missed that.
It is exactly the same.
Yeah. He takes them off with the caravan.
Yep. And it's a little different because they actually use illusion magic to pull it off.
Right.
But otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are talking horse and buggy era. There aren't that many.
Yeah. Well, and I also like it's like the guy knows that the strategy worked before, so he's going to use it again because
which is very human nature.
Trust on it. Yeah. So, yeah, Basil.
That concludes our episode. You can find us on the Legendarium's Discord. The invite link is on thelegendarium.com. We're also on Twitter at GreenTeamPod and Reddit. Join us in supporting the Legendarium via Patreon. Thanks to Professor Craig for loaning us a little corner of your media empire. Shout out to Horizon Brave for starting it all. Thanks, Jingles. Hope we can do this again soon sometime.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Until next time, bye. Music is Galactic Damages by Jingle Punks.